So hey guys, Shag and I went to TFF a couple of weeks ago, and it was our first official furry con in I guess 2 years because the last furry con we attended was TFF 2020, which was a week before we started hearing about COVID-19. So, I kind of always remember TFF 2020 for that reason in particular. I had a lot of good memories that con, but, week after we got back, the pandemic was upon us. And then, of course, that meant that for the rest of 2020 and most of 2021, we did not have any furry cons to attend. And, I want to right off the bat thank TFF staff and everybody that was working on the con, not only for dealing so well with the pandemic and keeping the con going, because I can only imagine what it takes to keep a con running, especially when it doesn't have any income for a year. I don't know what goes into all that, but thank you a million times over for keeping all the cons together for those that were canceled during the pandemic. And, thank you to all of the volunteers who were working for the convention during the weekend. I know that volunteering was a problem at this year's TFF. They had about half of the volunteers that they would have liked to have. And, I know that it's not something that I've ever done. And, I kind of you usually don't have the time or the opportunity. But, if it's something that you think that you would like to do, if it's something that you've have the ability to do, particularly if you're not a suitor or anything like that. Think about volunteering at cons. They usually don't ask too much for most of their volunteers. It's like if you can volunteer for like a little bit, usually you'll get perks from it. Either they'll comp your registration or they'll give you some sort of other benefit for it. So, if it's something that you have the ability to do, even if it's just for a little while, think about it, because a lot of cons have volunteer desks where they have people sitting there just waiting for people to show up, sign, volunteer, and all that stuff. Because I know TFF had a couple of issues, which I guess I'll talk about in a bit. But, if you can do some volunteering, that's something that I definitely think that a lot of the cons probably, can never have enough volunteers. So just something to think about. And thank you to everybody that did volunteer. I know it was probably very difficult running a con of that size with the people that you had. So I appreciate that, and thank you. TFF this year was in a new hotel. It was downtown Dallas, I think. I'm blanking on the name right now. But we apparently, from what I was told when I spoke to one of the staff members, they had already planned on this move because, of course, we had apparently, and it was pretty evident the last time I went, we'd outgrown the last hotel. But, we were going to be in this hotel this year regardless. So it was a new hotel experience, and the way it was set up was that the first floor was largely, I guess, a concourse with restaurants, with the front desk, with the hotel gift shop, and most of the convention space on the second floor. And some of the convention areas were across the street, connected to the parking garage and a big open building in the next section across the street. By and large, it seemed cramped, but I don't know if I think that was largely because of just the design of the hotel. It was, I guess, a bit hard to maneuver, overall, I'd say it was a nice hotel for most other things, but, for a furry con, it was a little bit cramped for our size, but, apparently we're already getting pretty big. TFF is the fourth largest furry con, and, as far as I observed, I didn't see a whole lot of photogenic locations in this particular hotel compared to the last one. But, it served our purposes, and it was good, and it taught us some things that, Shag and myself about our plans going forward. But we did what we could. We made do with it, and it worked pretty well for the con, I suppose. But it definitely was a little bit more cramped and crowded spaces. And one thing I've noticed about furry cons as opposed to other types of conventions is that furries like to congregate in the halls a lot more. Other cons that I've been to, people like go to panels, go to do things, and they generally don't stand around as much as you are with furry cons, where there's a lot more emphasis on suiting and hanging out and stuff like that. So, interesting diversion. But I would say, as far as the hotel, I mean, the breakfast buffet was decent. We found a little, a teddy bear shaped glass in the gift shop, which I thought was pretty nifty and sort of suited our purposes. I liked the way that they had things set up for the most part. It was all, I guess, as well organized as it could have been, and that was the hotel. Um, from what I understand, it will be in a different hotel next year. Although whether or not we pretty much decided that we will not be attending TFF in 2023. But I'll get into that at the end of the video. As far as suiting, Shrag did not bring his suit this year because of a few factors. For one thing, he decided that it was a new hotel and that he wasn't necessarily comfortable suiting in a large crowd. As some of you may or may not know, Shrag has a disability. And also, when I'm in suit, my own visibility is, of course, reduced. And a lot of the times, if we're suiting together, I have to be both handler and suitor. So sometimes I guess it's a little complicated for us to be able to do it in a crowded setting, like larger cons. But moreover, it was also, I guess, there was a couple of factors that combined that basically Shrag and I concluded that it was just not a good idea for him to take his suit to the con this year. So, but overall, I mean, I brought Topaz, I brought Lexi, and I brought Light Lauren. I decided not to bring her uniform this year. I really didn't suit very long in terms of duration. I mean, they were all kind of like targeted strikes. Most of the time when I was in suit, it was only for about a half an hour or to an hour at most per round. And I mean, part of the reason for that was because it takes a lot of effort for me to get into and out of suit these days. Part of it is also the fact that the con was very crowded, so it really kind of inclined me less towards just standing around in suit, waiting to run into people. And, I've also found from going to Star Trek cons that I really enjoy the kind of conventions where I'm not in suit 24/7. So, I mean, it's not that I don't enjoy suiting or that I intend to stop doing it, but I've just kind of come to realize that there are certain conditions under which I just really prefer to suit or not to suit, and it just is, I guess, a little less of a focus for me than it would have been when I had more flexibility, visibility, and all that stuff. But as far as the individual suits with Lauren, I did notice that on her left shoulder there is a seam that is coming loose. I haven't yet decided what to do about it, and of course when I was recording this video I just kind of remembered that that was a problem, so I'll have to log it somewhere so I remember to do something about it, either myself or maybe see if I mean I don't really want to bother Temperance with it because it's it's a little seam, but at the same time, I'm just a little intimidated by sewing because I just haven't really done that much of it ever. But I don't know if it'll be that much of a problem, but it's also one of those things where, I'm just so, I trust most of my costuming work to people that know what they're doing. And I kind of feel like I can do the basics, but maybe that'll be enough. I don't know. I mean, I want it to look nice and I want it to be functional, but, we'll see. I have at least a year before I'm going to another con. Furry con anyway, so I have plenty of time to figure something out. I just have to do that at some point. But Lexi was good. No comments as far as the suit there, but I with Topaz I brought a couple of specialty outfits this year because I was debating on what to do with her costumes, and also particularly with my fursuits I realized that I had hijacked a good portion of their clothes to use after I transitioned. So some of it is still sitting in there that I guess is sort of dedicated to them specifically, but with Topaz, I was debating whether or not I wanted her to be casual or fancy, and I decided this year that for the times I knew I would be suiting, I was going to bring her specialty clothes. Because when I went and got the action packer, I found the gold, the blue, bleh, the green and black ball gown that I wear with her sometimes. And, I was like, why don't I wear this more often? And when I got it to the con and put it on, I kind of remembered because, it looks beautiful. It's like visually, it's gorgeous. I got so many compliments on it in the short time I was wearing it. But also, it has, I guess, a couple of drawbacks. One of which is that it is very big and very poofy. And it kind of is not a great dress to wear in crowded areas. Like if you have big open spaces, it's good, but it also is tricky for things like escalators and stuff like that. So, and moving, anytime you walk anywhere, you have to pick up the dress and carry the front with you so you don't step on it. So, there is that. I kind of remembered it's like, it looks great, but, don't count on a lot of mobility when you're wearing this particular dress. And, I had the maid outfit, the French maid outfit that Topaz has worn in the commercial, the parody commercial that I made a while ago. And so, that went over well. That was pretty fun. I just carry around the feather duster with me. And I guess that's about it as far as suiting. It's like I think that going forward that I will be, I guess, changing the focus of my suiting. That I'm a little less, I guess, disturbed by some of the well, not disturbed, but there's a couple of my suits that don't fit me right now, and it kind of bums me out a little bit. But I'm less obsessed about having all the suits these days, and more about enjoying the suits that I do have. That they serve a purpose for me on both, on multiple levels, and that they work for me physically because suiting up in a full suit is a little bit more complicated when you get older. But it's all, I guess, a learning experience, and it'll give me plenty of time to decide my priorities about what I want to do suit-wise going forward. Because, I would like to, at some point, get with Magpie Bones and possibly get a partial from her. But, obviously, it just hasn't, the timing hasn't lined up. For the star to align because I just haven't had the money, the time, or the focus. Being unemployed for the last year and a half, and also I'm still deciding what I want to do as far as that goes. But I'm contemplating a couple of candidates, and we'll see what shakes out. I guess now I have maybe a third idea, but I don't know. It's all stuff that I don't like to rush with, so it's going to take a while until I figure that out. But restaurants at the con, we had a pretty good, I guess, dining experience. We found a plaza that was connected to the hotel that did pretty well for lunch. We had some fried chicken one day, and I think we had pizza the other. And as far as dinner, we went to a couple of places that we really liked. One was called the Press Box Grill, and that was pretty delicious. I don't remember what I ate there, but I know we all enjoyed it. And while we were there, I saw a restaurant next door called Sapa, which was like a mixed Asian cuisine restaurant. And we had some bowls of beef pho there that were just absolutely phenomenal. We went there with a couple of us, and all of us seemed to enjoy it really well. And if you're ever in that area, downtown Dallas, I definitely recommend it. We went to an Italian place called Campisi's, which was good food, but way too dark inside. It was all black walls, black tables, and it was not, easy for us to see in there, especially for for Shag and myself. And it was just good food, but could definitely use a brighter interior decor. That would be my only complaint about that one. And I got to meet a bunch of people at the con, some of which I knew, some of which I did not, because I unlike most conventions where I plan to go and I make arrangements and I have my mind in that direction. With this year, I didn't know if I was going to be working, if I would be able to afford it, what the situation would be, so I didn't really go around with the usual, who's going to be there. But I had a chance to run into a couple of folks from the Fireplace Chat, Utunu, and let's see. Oh yes, Night Ice Day Spring. That was correct, because I ran into Night Eyes outside in the artist's alley with his new book, which I did not have time to look into at the con. Although, we had a chance to chat for a little bit. I got to talk to somebody, Renegade, from one of the horse chats I'm in, furries that own horses. And we talked about it being his first con. I had an opportunity to run into Anime Cat and see her and her husband and their new kid, child, Willow, I think. Yes. And and because I knew that I remembered that they had been talking about her, but this was the first time they'd had to bring her to a con, so it was nice to be able to get to see her at TFF. I had brain farted that I had seen them at TFS before, because that was where I had picked up one of my Pokemon badges, either last con in 2020 or the year before in 2019. I don't remember which, but yeah, so that was nice. And saw Ink Tiger and Anne Bramble, who unfortunately I did not get to hang out with this con, but at least I got to see her in suit, and we got to chat very briefly. But let's see. In conclusion, I guess I would say that TFF was a good con. It did me good to go. But I also was surprised to learn that the con was only 5,000 people. For some reason, as crowded as it was, it seemed like more, but maybe it's just because my perception of crowds at cons is thrown off a little bit. Because, I know Star Trek Las Vegas is like a huge convention, but I think the distribution is a lot different, and the way people maneuver is a lot different. So, it's a larger crowd, but it doesn't seem that large. And they're very, very organized because they're like a professional con. These are things these companies do for profit, so they're very prepared. But, I think that TFF, while it's been our home con for a long period of time, that it's starting to get very large for purposes of social activity. And I think that Strag and I are going to look at smaller cons as far as cons that we just go to have fun at. And if I do go back to TFF, it will likely be to deal. Hopefully I will be in a scenario by this time next year to have at least one new book to pimp. Hopefully more than that, but it all depends on how my year shakes out. Because, I'm done trying to plan specific projects to be done by arbitrary dates, because that always backfires on me. I always stress when I don't make progress, and I just get upset with myself, and it doesn't work. And, what's going to work this time, or at least what I hope will work this time, is that I work on what I want to work at when I feel like working on it for as long as I can keep the focus. And, it's one of the reasons why I want to have a bunch of projects going, because I'm hopeful that whatever I'm working on, I will be able to keep, steady production, more so than working on any one thing until it's finished. It also give me, I guess, flexibility by having a bunch of things to work on, that I can just work on what is, where the spirit is at the moment. So, if I go back to TFF, it will probably be to deal. My next con is unknown at this point, but I'm looking at a small con possibly in North Carolina. We're talking about maybe a couple of the other Texas cons, Alamo City, Furry Invasion, or there might have been another one in somewhere in Texas that we were talking about. But that's it for now. I know that our plans, at least as far as conventions go, we're not planning on doing any other cons this year other than Star Trek, and then we're going to kind of reevaluate where we are when it gets time to make plans for cons next year. So that's it for now. And TFF was a lot of fun. And, as far as what goes next, I will keep you guys updated. So, catch you later. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, click the subscribe button and leave a comment below. See you next time.